Welcome, sentient beings from all known universes and beyond. It's time to activate your cranial downlinks and prepare to receive a raft of discussion on a cosmic ocean of science fiction and fantasy topics, interviews with local area genre devotees, and insightful prognostication by our soothsayers of science fiction, our forecasters of fantasy, and any other beings that happen to get caught in our gravity well. This is the Galactic Driftwood Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Galactic Driftwood Podcast. I'm Bill.
I'm Linda.
I'm Charles.
I'm Seth.
I'm Jenna.
I'm Chris.
And you're joining us for our first episode of the new year, January 2nd today, as we're recording. So happy 2022, everyone. And just a reminder, you can find out or take a look at all of our past episodes on galacticdriftwood.space. You can also check out our partner, might be partner for some of those shows, our partner podcast friends on synnation.net. That's synnation.net. And we put out new shows here on Galactic Driftwood once a week, usually on Wednesdays, unless work gets particularly dramatic that week.
Or cats. Cats happen.
Yeah,
I said, or cats.
Or cats.
Happen.
Things happen. So this time we're going to be talking about the latest Matrix movie, Matrix Resurrection, which Resurrections, right? Which in my mind probably should have been called Matrix Rebooted, because that's more of a computer term.
The other movies haven't followed that.
No, I know, but anyway, so what'd you all think? Who wants to kick it off here? Chris.
I'll kick it off. So I thought it was actually pretty good. There was the first third of the movie, I was kind of honestly a little bit annoyed with the forcing of the deja vu, right?
Yeah.
There was a lot of similarities they wanted to drive. And it almost got to the point where it was going to be, hey, if this is going to be the whole movie, I could just go back and watch the first one. But it did get better, in my opinion. It got a little bit funnier. Probably the one thing that it could have gone without, which at first I thought was funny and then became pointless, was they brought back the Frenchman.
Yeah.
And that whole scene was whole scene was kind of pointless because he was just there to blab his mouth and then leave. And like if they had a fight, even if it was just a little part, that would have been something. But at this point, it was just bringing him back to bring him back. And that pissed me off, if only because they couldn't somehow find a way to give Lawrence Fishburne an opportunity to be in the film. Even if he was a trash guy going down the street. Now, what? Go ahead, Seth.
Or Morpheus, like the Morpheus from the movie, is dead.
Yes, no, and I get that. But
canonically.
Yes, and I understand that. But you can always make something work, right?
Well,
so it's lazy writing
in all
to be
fairness,
able to bring the Frenchman back just to blabble.
Yeah.
And say nonsense and not even do anything. Like, what was the whole point of him even being there?
Right.
Because what made him powerful in the Matrix was he had a control and an army of exiles that should have been deleted because they were rocky programs like werewolves or whatever. He always had a connection to information that he could get. If he doesn't have any of those things as a new level of exile in the new Matrix, then he's lost all power. So there's no point in bringing him in like they did as a last resort, unless they were going to show him as the handler for the ones that they were actually fighting.
But in all fairness, Neo and Trinity were both dead.
But they explained all that. And it was just the fact that they went through such lengths Right, they could have come up with, to your point, Bill. They could have come up with something for Morpheus. So we'll jump into some of these things more deeper. But for me, it was a 7, maybe an 8 out of 10. I actually did enjoy the movie. The first third was a little bit tough to get through. It had some humorous parts in there. If I was to sum it up from a meme standpoint, think of, a matrix within a matrix, a dream within a dream, a story within a story, or a game within a game, and just keep going down that rabbit hole, right?
Yeah.
But
a lot
I
of
liked
meta
it overall.
going on.
Yeah, a lot of that going on. So overall, I liked it though. So, but we'll circle back after everyone kind of shares whether they like it.
So, Chris, I'm actually gonna push back on you a little bit. I thought the callbacks in this one were good. Like
they were in the last 2/3 of the movie is what I'll say. But in the very beginning, to me, I really struggled with some of the callbacks because it seemed forced. It was very much intentional. And I get why they were doing it in terms of, hey, who's replaying this code? Who is trying to kickstart something? That part was fine. But at some point, it was even to the point, I'll give you an example, when Neo is first taken out of the Matrix again, and he's going through the ship to go through the introductions, felt very much exactly the same way it happened in the first film.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's like, well, it's been 60 years, and these guys haven't really changed much. Now, they do explain they've moved to a new city, IO, and all this other stuff. But I'm telling you, the first like third of that movie was very much forced to basically replay the first film until it became its own thing in the second half, maybe the second 2/3 of the movie.
But a lot of why they were doing things like that seemed to me because they were trying to connect to Neo. They were engineering those situations in those ways so that they would trigger his memories because they were trying to get him to remember. So how do you do that? You try and do things the way that they happened before.
Right. But once he's out of the Matrix, is all that really necessary? Like, you're either going to grasp everything or you're not. You've made your choice. I just felt it was a bit much. It was almost every scene was that intentional as opposed to giving you little breadcrumbs, if you will, along the way.
My understanding,
too much.
just from a little after I watched it a little online, because I wish I had watched the original Matrix again first.
We did that.
Yeah, but a lot of those scenes they're awfully close, but not quite. And
that's intentional.
Yeah, it's intentionally let you know that it's cloned or whatever.
Yeah. So,
and I don't know.
From a storytelling standpoint, I thought it was as much to bring Neo back to or as much to bring us back into the Matrix as it was Neo.
And that's why I enjoyed it overall. Yeah. The movie overall.
Well, consider what they did with the first of the new trilogy of Star Wars. They were trying to get us, like, with a similarity between that and A New Hope, where they intentionally did that, but they went too far. The whole movie in that first of the new trilogy was basically just A New Hope reskinned.
Yeah.
This, they're trying to give us the familiar faces and familiar story beats kind of right away. And then they go in the second 2/3 of it to do their own thing.
Yeah.
So I think that was very intentional, and I didn't mind it at all.
Like I said, I was brought back into it to where I overall liked it. It was just tough getting through it because I literally went into the movie without any expectations, which is how I intend to go through it. And maybe, just maybe, my experience would have been better starting out had I not actually watched the Matrixes recently to kind of get refreshed and everything. So it felt like the movie I think would do best for someone who watched the original ones maybe a few years ago when it first came out and then hasn't really watched it for a while, and then it helps you get that much more of a reconnection. And I agree with that point. It's to get you, let's refamiliarize you with the film. Let's get you connected, maybe emotionally again, to Neo and Trinity, and you want this to work. and then the rest of it's just pissed off because they brought the Frenchman back and not Lawrence Fishburne. So
Right.
Yeah, and Linda and I, we did that. We went and watched the 3 original movies this weekend, and then went right into the new one. And so, having done that, from my perspective, I just felt like there was too much of that going back to the old stuff, and they wasted too much time showing that from that perspective. And then I also thought I didn't. So the new character that was playing Morpheus, I liked the actor, and I thought he did a pretty good job, but I just couldn't figure out why they didn't bring back the real Morpheus. Why they didn't get Lawrence Fishburne?
Yeah, even if he had physically died, he's all digital in this new era, which means they could have reimagined him in the same likeness as the previous Morpheus. You've already made exceptions across the board for a lot of other things. There's no reason that they couldn't have written that in, and that's where I feel. I think Lawrence Fishburne has a right to be slighted on that, and I get where they just took the story and said, you know what, this is a newly coded, Morpheus in here that's part of this other, what did they call it, like a sentient type of robots and programs and everything like that. But it was that part was just kind of odd to me. I did like the take on it because this part was humorous to me, and I did enjoy this. The fact that he knew he wasn't like the original Morpheus, and he had to learn himself. Kind of, he's watching videos of Morpheus trying to get the hang of it, and I would have preferred a guy named Morpheus, but just wasn't and didn't try to be Morpheus. I think that's what irritated me the most is they went too far in trying to be the likeness. As opposed to being, I'm the next Morpheus, right? I'm just a different guy. I do things differently, maybe, instead of let me go by the playbook here. Of what old Morpheus
He was a combination of Morpheus and Smith, though.
Created by Anderson himself.
Yeah.
So it's his perception, because he made this combo Morpheus as a way to kind of trigger himself subconsciously in that module that what's her face, blue hair, found him in. Bugs, yeah. So I mean, I get where all of you are coming from. I think it would probably, as much money as they already put into this movie, to have to make a new, younger digital version of Morpheus that Lawrence Fishburne would have had to voice. I think they knew it would have created too many complications in the longevity of the film.
And also, maybe Lawrence Fishburne didn't feel up to doing an action kung fu movie.
Which he didn't need to do. The thing is you don't need to have him through the whole film. There was more than one opportunity to give him that's the thing is they didn't even approach him about it. It would have been different if he said, no, I don't want to do it. And then they have to come up with what they did. But this is like, there was plenty of opportunities to give one of the original 3 people that started this saga an opportunity to be in the film in some capacity.
And I can say Keanu Reeves is 57. Lawrence Fishburne is 60. So there's not much difference there age-wise.
It's body-wise and how you maintain your health, though.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves has been doing John Wick for the past 10 years too. So he's still in 100. He's still in this condition.
Yeah.
Like if Lawrence Fishburne hasn't been doing action flicks for the last 20 years or so, like I can understand. Hey, I just don't feel like doing a Matrix.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I just I don't know. I never got that sense from the interviews of Lawrence Fishburne, and maybe that's out there. But the fact that it seemed to be that they didn't even approach him.
Right.
Well, if they never approached him, that's something.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is he's when he was asked, he was like, "No one's talked to me about doing the Matrix." And that seemed, everyone was like, well, what the hell are we supposed to expect on this new movie if you don't bring back Morpheus? Now, they wrote him out as, he ended up leading Zion after the fact, and it's been 60 years, and he's long dead and gone. However, it doesn't really explain to me that when you have this matrix, it's whatever reality you want it to be.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of opportunities to even as a, like I said, like a, a janitor that keeps coming in talking to Neo every day, giving him these weird cues, but he's not really Morpheus. It's the other guy, but for whatever reason, Neo keeps looking at him like, why do you keep saying that? Or, he'll come by and be like, free your mind, and then just walk away.
Yeah.
Right.
Anything like that could have been done, and it would have been a nice tribute to Morpheus, even though he's dead and gone in the real world.
I don't know.
It could have been a figment of his imagination, a memory.
Maybe
I think
he
they
just
should have
had,
given him a stutter and called it a glitch.
maybe he had a falling out with the Wachowskis.
I mean, it could have been, but it was just
So
it is what it is. I'm not going to harp on it any longer. I did enjoy the film.
That was the problem. I mean, he's so close, it's distracting, because that was the whole time. I know when I'm watching it, I'm like, well, you're awfully close, but
okay, and this is my favorite. Okay, this Mr. Smith. I almost said Mr. Anderson.
Agent
Smith is the best Agent Smith in my opinion.
Really?
how dare you?
I didn't like him.
The reason I liked him is because ultimately, Smith has always been persistent in breaking the rules, and he continues that in this. But then he has this respect for Neo, because Neo is ultimately the one that broke his chains, right? Neo is ultimately the one that set him free. Even though he goes fighting with Neo, I never really found that intent to kill him. It was just like he mentions, our conflict is inevitable, right? He's always going to be battling against them.
Well, it's sort of the like good versus evil,
right? And
he is the Joker to his Batman.
Yeah, he's the Joker to his Batman, and there seems to be some kind of mutual respect there. So because of that, I felt like this was the best. Like Mr. Smith in this, Agent Smith in this one, ended up being like the best evolution of any of the characters, in my opinion. Yeah, because he's still around. He jacks up the other guy's plans, and it's hard to tell if he's really good or bad, but he's a necessary evil in that world.
Yeah, I thought the actor did a good job playing his role, but I found myself distracted by the fact that I expected him to be Hugo Weaving, or to have his sort of his slower voice kind of a thing, Mr. Anderson kind of a thing.
There was a speech thing that was the original,
and I kept
that would have been
looking for that, and it was very disconcerting. And I don't know why. I mean, they didn't have to make it Agent Smith. It could have been some other program that evolved after the change of the Matrix, and I would have been fine with that if this new Agent Smith was something else, Agent Jones, maybe, I don't know, something.
Well, I think they're trying to show you the progression of Smith changing, though, and that's why they wanted him to be Smith.
Well, this is a continuation and a reboot.
Right.
So this kind of gets into my response to the movie, because I think what captured us all in the original Matrix, there was a lot of showing and not as much telling about the laws of this world, and a lot of conversation that, it wasn't the answers were not in your face. And that was great. It was really well done. But what this one did, they put at the forefront and clearly wrote the connections to the old movies, where you saw the repeats, the kind of rehashing of the experiences for those that had never seen the movie. But then the real important details, if you were not listening closely, you were likely to miss it. Like you'd miss that this Agent Smith only exists because the analyst wanted to use him as another layer of containment for Neo. And that he even lost his memory. He wasn't even aware of what he was supposed to be to Neo in this new version of the Matrix. He was just another layer of the cage, just like Trinity is. Which I thought that was a little bit, I get the point, but it's also like, I'm surprised the machines would even risk keeping any coding from Agent Smith.
So that's funny, because I wrote that down as kind of a, I thought that whole thing, there's a scene in there where Neil Patrick Harris, who plays the therapist, if you will,
The analyst.
the analyst that's pulling all the strings, right? And there's a part in there where he's talking to Neo and Trinity, saying that, hey, I found that, human emotion drives much more energy. And he's basically saying, as, part of this world, that he was allowed to take a greater risk to get more energy, which isn't necessarily efficient given what that risk is. It doesn't seem like something an AI would do. If the system works, why are you taking greater risk to get more energy? That seemed to me, computationally not something an AI would do.
Well,
but it did happen. But
this goes back to the original. If you're not paying attention closely, you lose stuff. So like the whole thing, why was there a conflict in the machines that Bugs talks about that led to some of the AI to side with the humans? Right. Well, because whatever Smith did and Neo's impact by coming to the machine city caused a massive loss of some of their infrastructure somewhere. And I don't know if it was like the loss of people who they said they would take out of the Matrix if they wanted to leave the Matrix, but all of a sudden the machines had less resources and there was conflict between the machines themselves trying to gain these. So that's why they were willing to make this risk, is what it sounds like. I mean, but this is all assumption. It's not, like, I do appreciate when it's not completely in your face, but the world building in the background felt a little too rushed, and to use the style of you have to listen really closely. Does that make sense? Like those were real. There were so many really important little details that impacted our whole understanding of what's happened in the last 60 years that if you weren't like locked in, you would have missed.
Yeah, cues on listening and as well as seeing things going on. I mean, there's a scene where Neo's having coffee with quote unquote Tiffany, which is what they call her in Trinity in the film, and she hates that name. But when he's having coffee with her and he looks down at the table earlier on in the movie, he sees a reflection of somebody completely different.
Yeah,
that's not the Trinity that he knows, and then it kind of goes off of that, and that's when you start to wonder, like, well, what is he seeing? What are other people seeing? And they eventually explain that briefly later on. But yeah, there's a lot of little cues like that.
It's entertaining. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it too. I found it absolutely entertaining. It was nostalgic. I just, unfortunately, there was an edge to the original Matrix. Like there was way more human, like real world body count in the original, even in the very first Matrix. Like I felt like she was afraid to kill people in this movie for the new audience. Like no one dies in the real world in this Matrix.
Right.
I thought that was a little bit weird too. Like they had the crews in there, and I'm like, okay, I just got done watching the last couple or the first two Matrixes. All y'all's are dead.
Yeah, a whole lot of people died.
I mean, and that's the thing. And
that first movie, they lost pretty much the whole crew.
Yeah. Yep. And there's a reputation. Like by the second movie, there's a whole reputation. No one wants to work the Nebuchadnezzar because people die.
And maybe that's just because there was no point in killing anybody because they didn't really give you any one-on-one time with a lot of the other crew members, right? This is very much focused on 5 or 6 characters.
They didn't do that in the original Matrix, but they killed off those crew.
Well, I don't know. I felt like even Dozer and some of the people, you had more dialogue on the ship between them to kind of build it up as those films went. Because this was a condensed, first part of the movie, getting people up to speed and rehashing the first film. They didn't have that. So there was they could have killed those people and people wouldn't have cared, or people don't care if they live because there just was no attachment of it. Like when you think back in the film, you're not really thinking of most of the crew with the exception of, maybe Bugs.
Yeah, like the kid who made the girl in the red dress in the first movie. Like he was hilarious. And when he was our first collateral damage and he dies, you're like, oh.
Right.
Yeah. So there's none of that.
And the lady with the white hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like we didn't really meet them. We just
switch.
Switch. You just watch them die.
Right.
But it's the conditions in which they died. Like, you get the impression these are grizzled people who've been fighting and living really hard, and to die like this as a betrayal is rough.
Not like this.
Yeah. I read that
like they could have killed the blue hurt. They could have killed Bugs. I read that in the first movie,
Switch was supposed to be a trans character, supposed to be female outside of the Matrix, but male in the Matrix. But the studio nixed it.
Oh,
that's
bullshit.
Disappointing.
Yeah, well, it was
20 years ago.
It was the late '90s, so not surprising, I guess. But
it was, but I like with the Wachowskis. Is it Wachowski or Wachowski?
I say Wachowski.
Yes,
I thought it was Wachowski. That's how
I'm going with Wachowski.
Okay.
So I mean, like, knowing like what's happened with the Wachowskis, like that would have been an important character for. I'm sure that studio denial kind of hurt him.
Yeah. Well, and it actually, if you look out there, the trans community has taken sort of another look at the original Matrix movies and called out that there's a lot of trans references in there that are designed necessarily for the time to be rather subtle, so that it wasn't so blatant. It's kind of interesting to watch some of that and see some of that called out and pointed out. And you can certainly see it, like in the first movie, when the first scene opens, there's a computer screen there and there's some text on the screen. And it's just some, basic computer garbage, but it says, call trans and then something else. And then that's also the last scene of the movie. So it's, like the word trans kind of bookends the whole show. So it's kind of interesting. If you look for some of that, there's some information on YouTube out there that you can watch that kind of explains how they did all that. But I did have one question that struck me. So I loved Neil Patrick Harris's character, the analyst. I thought he was great in it. But I don't understand why they created the analyst instead of just going with Colonel Sanders, the architect from the first one.
He was already his own AI. They didn't create him. He existed. That's why he said, I was there when you died. So he was his own intelligent AI that when Neo died, probably witnessing the physical interaction he could have outside and inside the world, probably started formulating, well, how do we harness this?
So, but is the architect still around, or?
No, because this is a new Matrix.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a reboot of the Matrix.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So Neil, the analyst goes on and does his own thing, which is where he says, hey, I think I can harness more energy in this Matrix using this and their emulsions and all this other stuff. And that's where he takes that risk to do that because it sounded like it took a while for him to get it right, because there was a scene where he talks about, the closer he brought Neo and Trinity, bad things would happen. So he had to find the right recipe, if you will, of what distance to keep them apart and in how they should be able to interact, and then put all these safeguards in place. And you would think, though, that distancing Neo in the Matrix from anything that would be familiar would be better than...
why did he have Trinity in the same town?
Because he had to keep them close.
Yeah,
no,
he had to keep them.
Their pods were close.
No. He had to maybe physically close, but also he had to keep like that. He had to keep them close, like noticing each other. Like that's why they saw each other every day in the coffee shop.
Okay,
that's what was helping Neo generate the energy or whatever, or them both generate the energy.
Okay, their sum was greater than the whole of each individual. So having that, it's that math that doesn't quite work, because each by themselves is powerful, but Trinity creates a whole new level in Neo that had never been seen before. So them together is like a catalyst for even more additional energy. That's the logic of the film.
But you can't let them be together, or else they break out.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Well, in that case, I agree with Chris. It seems like the risk reward from a purpose of an AI calculation would be low.
Well, I mean, it worked out. It worked out for what, 40 years, however long it took it to
60
get
years,
that
I
new
think
one
he said.
I
booted up.
suppose.
I
Yeah.
got
It was stable as long as they kept Neo under control,
No,
which
here,
they seem to have done.
I got the impression it was only 20 years it had been working. It took them 40 years to even get to
Oh
that
no,
balance.
I think you're right. Yeah, it took
Because
a
he
long
asked-
time. Right, you're right.
Because he asked
Okay.
them, like, where have you all been the last 20 years? And they're
Yeah.
like, it's 60.
That's right.
Well,
Huh.
so for him, it's been 20 years. So yeah, maybe
Yeah, but it's been
it is
60
like
years
that
since
Matrix has
Zion or
been
whatever.
going for 20 years. But I mean, if they kept it like 20 years, that you'd assume that, hey, I think we've got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So I mean, I think that they thought that was acceptable risk then.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to spend like 40 years with spiders crawling in and out of my mouth and my.
Well, I
Other
don't think
orifice-
he wanted to do any of that.
Well, no,
Oh,
no. I mean, who would? But I mean, 40 years of the machines trying to resurrect you, and it looked like he and Trinity both were in agony for most of it,
yeah.
with glowing tubes going down their throats and
Well,
spiders crawling in and out of their mouths and.
no thanks.
God, yeah.
So I have a question. So as the film comes to an end, we realize that Trinity in some respects is almost the next Neo, or it basically
Mhm.
is in terms of powers.
Yeah.
Is there what does that mean anything in terms of anyone, if they free their mind, could have those abilities, or was Trinity just a special one-off in this case? What are your thoughts on that? The fact that she can fly now, that she has the same powers as Neo did at his peak.
Well,
So-
didn't Morpheus? I mean, wasn't Morpheus freed? I mean, he couldn't fly. He could jump. He could do those long.
He could
jumps.
jump and stuff, but I mean, in terms of the limitations, well, does this mean that everyone has that potential ultimately?
I don't know.
I think it was just supposed to be her.
So I almost have to wonder if there's so much interaction. So what Neo, in a way, and if you think about it, he was kind of intentionally allowed to happen by the original Matrix, because the architect talks about the remainder in the algorithm that has to be
Mhm.
balanced every so many cycles. So in a way, even though he's biological, he is an intentional, he's got source code in him. That's why he had to return to the source, so that they could continue to then balance the same cycle. So it's like, you have to wonder, I think it's just the influence of Trinity if they were swapping code. I mean, like, so she's actually picking, I know, like, I figured you'd like that, Linda. If just her proximity to Neo and the way the machines keep having to build him, they were so interconnected at that point
Mhm.
that even maybe Neo, without realizing it, was giving her in the Matrix part of her code. I mean, he shoved his fist into her at one point in the movie, and
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Phrasing.
Right.
so
Yeah.
Ah!
we're not doing crazy. I guess we are. Sorry. So that I in answering your question, Chris, I think it has more to do with, after that many years interconnected, trying to continually get back to each other. That's what I see it as. She just, very few people, I think, are in the Matrix as long as she has been, like, with that kind of
Mhm.
level of power and awareness. So maybe they can all at some point, if they're in the Matrix long enough and are mentally pushed enough and guided, can get to that level, but it's not natural like Neo.
This whole
I would
movie
think
is so unnecessary.
if
Oh, I thought this was like, I don't know if I want a whole another Matrix trilogy. This feels like a better end to than the third one did.
I wrote
feel
this.
like
I
that's
wrote
what-
that down.
I feel like that's
Exactly.
what they did.
I
They
might-
just,
This was the ending that we all wanted.
yep.
Neo
And
and
that's all
trilogy,
it's for.
Neo and Trinity to be together, just a better ending is what.
Yep.
I might
I
suggest
like the way the third one ended. I like the fact that they both died, that they gave their lives to save all of humanity.
And that's fair.
I thought that was
it's still a happy, but not really happy.
Yeah,
ending.
I thought it gave their lives a significant ending, and I liked
the meaning.
Let's let Charles. He's trying to say something.
Yeah, I might suggest that if this is a kind of a hero's journey, and the hero's resurrected kind of thing, and he's rather than an architect, he's got an analyst. This might have been the ending. Might just be that he's not exactly the center of the world anymore. Like that would be the breakthrough from analysis, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
So you're saying he's coming to the realization that he's not.
It's not just
the only
that he
one.
had some help, and the other people have superpowers too, or whatever. But yeah, that would be right. That would be what you'd get from a good analyst, I suppose.
Yeah, makes sense.
I mean, the original Matrix, like the first 3 movies, definitely follow the hero's journey. Like the first movie is very much the call to adventure, and then the other movies take him through the trials, and then eventually the end of the journey was the third. So the first 3 Matrixes rely a lot or use the hero's journey a lot and incorporate a lot of philosophy. This one kind of follows the hero's journey a little bit, but it's much more, I think they decided to focus in on other bits of philosophy, and you really, I think, hear that in the analyst at the end of the movie. Like when they let when Neil Patrick Harris is revealed as the villain and he gets to start monologuing, that's when you get to learn like where the Wachowskis were coming. We lost Jenna. Anyway, that's where you really get to tell where what the Wachowskis are getting at.
I just thought the whole thing was unnecessary. I'm sorry.
We're gonna have to resurrect
I liked
Jenna.
it.
She's gonna get back on. She just BSOD'd.
Boy, we're just having all sorts of computer issues today. I wonder why.
Talking about the Matrix, maybe they're trying to. Maybe the Matrix is trying to shut us down.
That was also part of the. I mean, you could have a. I think you take a step back because this round he was an actor instead of just a programmer, right? At the beginning.
Who
he was?
Did I miss
Neo?
something? Yeah.
Neo? He was a game designer.
Okay, I'm sorry, it was game designer.
Yeah.
And he designed the Matrix.
Right.
That was it.
The Matrix game, supposedly.
Yeah. So
that's why I was thinking actor. Yeah. So, but there was some suggestions right at the beginning that this was going to be an unnecessary redo.
Although, Charles, I can see
from the game designer point of view,
I can see where your confusion might have come in because
I don't know why I just went actor.
Well, no, because there was that one scene. Which for me, I saw
it was because they were. No, I know where I got it. I know.
Yeah, that one scene where they're sitting in the analyst's not the analyst's office, but Agent Smith's office, his boss, Neo's boss, right?
Yeah.
And he's talking about the fact that Warner Brothers wants them to do.
Yeah, there is a whole thing. It makes it sound like they're doing a film sequel or something.
Right,
that was it.
And in my mind, as I'm watching that, I'm wondering if that was sort of the Wachowskis, or however you say their name, subtly putting into the film that we had no choice. But
I did feel that. Yeah, I did feel like
we're going to do it without us.
Yeah, that was the feeling I had too.
Yeah,
they were suggesting to you that this is
this was not their choice. They were either going to take it and do a screw up job of it, and we decided, okay, we're going to go in and try to minimize the clusterfuck that we think this might be if we're not involved.
Definitely got meta right there.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Like there and in the next few scenes where they're talking about how they're going to do the next Matrix.
Yeah, I did like them spitballing around that. Did anybody stay for the after credits?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
The
the
cat
cat
tricks.
tricks.
Oh, I missed. I'll have
Guys,
to go back and
cats.
check after the after credits.
Yeah,
I
go
missed
all the way
that
to
whole
the
thing.
end of the credits. There's those developers are still sitting around a table spitballing, and one of them,
That's
you know what
awesome.
we need? We need cats. Cat tricks. It's a mini series of cats. And he was
That's
just like,
hilarious.
"Excuse me." Yeah, that happened.
And
That definitely
I had
happened.
one question. Maybe you guys know the answer to this, but when they're fighting in that, I think it's a bar in the
Mhm.
Matrix, and Neil Patrick Harris is behind the bar, and he's trying to get to his cat, whose name is Deja Vu, in a
Mhm.
reference to the cat that we see in the
Yep.
original Matrix, right, where there's kind of a glitch, and
Mhm.
Neo says, "Oh, I think I just had deja vu," and they're like, "What?"
It's a sign of a glitch in the Matrix.
Right,
Yep.
that's a sign something was changed. But he's trying to get desperately to his cat, and I didn't understand why.
I
think
didn't
the
eat
cat
it
is-
actually.
I think the cat is what lets him do that bullet time thing.
That's what we thought. Remember, you said
And,
that.
yeah, and maybe that's
Oh,
his
really?
control. I don't know.
Huh.
But I did think that was weird too, Bill. I tried not to
That
get
was
too
weird.
hung up on it, but yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was. I was like, okay, so why is the cat
Okay.
here?
Check this out. Okay, so here's Smith sitting in his office. See that little statue in the background there?
Yeah.
This is what it actually is. Oop, hang on. There.
Supposedly.
Oh, really?
Oh, I love it.
So that must have been a scene from the game, supposedly, that they had
No,
sculpted.
that's from the movie.
No, I know, but I'm just saying in the
In their
Okay.
world, it would
In
have been
this
something
world.
out
yeah
of the
in this
game.
world that was
Yeah.
probably some artifact that was created from the movie to be in the boss's office.
And there it is.
That's
That's cute.
hilarious.
Ha!
That's
funny.
amazing. That might go for some money if that was put on eBay.
Right?
Yeah,
Right.
wouldn't you just love to
That's
have
where this
that in
movie
your
needs to
office?
go.
Seth, couldn't you 3D print one of those for us?
I'm sure I could if somebody has the design for it.
Well, I think we've beat this to a dead pulp.
Well, it can always be resurrected. That's the beauty.
I know.
Give it another decade. Maybe
Well,
five.
so I guess that means we need a question.
Yes.
And so I was gonna say originally
Red
I was
pill versus
thinking,
blue pill.
yeah, red pill or blue pill. Do you stay in the Matrix or do you go live in the awful world?
Right. Well, I want to
Oh.
know. I want to know all you guys' answer to that question, and then
Oh,
we
I'm
can
with
ask
you.
our audience to weigh in. So, Chris,
Blue pill. Blue pill.
so you're staying in.
Staying.
Okay, Seth.
I'm like Cypher eating that steak talking to Agent
Yeah.
Smith. I
I
don't want to
loved
remember
him.
anything. Make me a famous tennis player or something. You know, nothing
Okay,
too
but-
crazy.
But keep in your mind that
No,
this
no,
is
you're not supposed- this is
2022.
not- You don't talk
It's an
about
election
choices.
cycle.
Nope.
All right.
Stay in the Matrix.
All right. Seth.
I think I red pill.
Yeah. Charles.
If the world is code, I want to be able to manipulate it.
Yeah.
I'm a little confused, but I'd like to stay in the Matrix, but I don't like this idea that they're now trying to make me more emotional. So if that's the
point.
case, I kind of want out, but I don't know how to,
Well,
make
if you
that.
take the blue pill, you don't even remember making the decision. So
Well, right, but that was the idea is I'd rather be
Blue
a little more
pill.
closer to the paradise. Fake. I don't care about reality whatsoever.
But yeah, now though, if you take red pill, you get robot buddies.
Yes.
but you
Right.
don't know that when you take the red pill.
I
Linda?
know, but
Blue
It's
you
pill.
what you know
do.
versus what you don't know.
Blue,
Right.
I'm in. I'm staying in.
I'd probably
Linda
stay
staying
there.
in.
No, let's not complicate things.
Uh,
Wow, really?
yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a
It's hard.
it is kind of a toss up for me because I really love my life the way it is now. But
See?
if it wasn't such a good life, I might be willing to take the red pill and get out.
But you're answering it now.
And even
so-
now, as good as my life is, taking the red pill is very appealing for me because I like the idea of a sense of
Control.
adventure. Yeah. And getting out.
People shooting at you. Is that adventure, really?
And, well, but they're shooting at you in the Matrix, right?
Matrix.
And if you've got a powerful enough mind, which I would like to think I would have,
Wearing
then
that
maybe
hat?
I could stop the bullets like Neo. What'd she say?
Wearing
Wearing
that
that
hat?
hat.
I've got a very powerful mind in my silly hat.
Yes. But so I don't know. I think I would be inclined to take the red pill because I don't know at the point that I'm offered the red or the blue pill choice, and this goes for any of us, you're not going to know what the other world's like, what the real world is like. And so they're going to say, take the blue pill and stay in your deluded reality, or take the red pill and find out what the world is really like. And I think at that point, my sense of curiosity, my overdriving sense of curiosity would force me to take that red pill just to find out what the real world was like. Now, I may be fucking miserable after I get there, right? And I may end up making a deal with Agent Smith to go back.
Remember, you
But I
can't
would
go
still-
back.
What?
Come on, Bill. There's cave orgies.
They said
everyone
once
would
you
be
got
fine.
out, you couldn't go back.
Well, that's not necessarily true
No.
because Cypher was out and he
Yep.
made a deal with Agent Smith to get rejacked in. So you'd
Right.
have to make
We
a
don't
deal.
know what really happened to him, though.
But
Yeah, but you'd
Well,
have
he died.
he gets killed before he can go back.
What,
so-
I always
How
got
convenient.
I always got the impression that Agent Smith was just going to betray him anyway.
Yeah, that's true because he just wants what he wants. So
Yeah, they sent the Sentinels to kill everyone.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
do not think that he would have been rewarded for his loyalty.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not the type of person that would make a deal with Agent Smith and betray the rest of humanity just for my own selfish interests. I mean, if I took the red pill and I was there, I would definitely fight to save humanity, and I would own it, you know. But if I knew what I was going to, then I might be a different calculation. I might be saying, yeah, you know, I don't know. I really like steaks and baked potatoes, and
So it's red pill.
it's red pill for me, not knowing
But
what I'm
you
facing.
can go in, you can go back into the Matrix and eat your steak and potatoes.
That's true.
I'd suggest the
Good
blue
point.
pill, and a nature documentary, and then you've got both.
Yeah.
There you go.
Although keep in mind, Seth, that even if you go into the Matrix and eat a steak and baked potato, you're going to have that flavor, but you're still going to have to come out and actually eat the real gruel so that your body has nutrients.
This is
Yeah,
why I'm staying in.
but you do have you can vacation in the Matrix, you know.
Yeah.
You come in at your loading room, you're just like, money. We need
Well,
lots
and-
of money.
And there is the option of meeting the girl in the red dress.
Nice.
Gonna arrange a more intimate encounter.
Right. Would that be considered cheating if you were married?
And on that note,
We're going to end it.
I don't think she was even paying attention to you, Bill.
No.
Lucky for you.
What?
No, I
Never
said,
mind, Linda.
I was asking Linda, generally, the folks here, if you were married outside the Matrix, but you went into the Matrix and had a relationship with the woman in the red dress, would that be considered cheating?
Would you be able to say a relationship? She wasn't really a fully fledged program the way Morpheus was.
I'm
it'd
not
be
going
like,
to answer
it'd
that.
be
I'm
like
going to
going
take
into
the
the
fifth.
holodeck on the Enterprise, right?
Yeah, that's basically
Bill,
Bill, it
what
was
we're
nice
comparing.
knowing you. It was nice knowing you.
Chris thinks it's over for me now.
Yep.
It might be.
Someday Linda's gonna find out about Bill's Vulcan love slave holodeck collection.
Ew. Ew.
Jolene Blaylock all the way, baby. To Paul. All right.
Okay,
well,
then.
I think on that note, leave us a comment. Let us know if you take the red pill or the blue pill. We'd like to know what you guys are thinking, and let us know, your mindset there. Are you taking the red pill, blue pill, not knowing what you're going into, or knowing what you're going into? Would that change your calculations? So,
Also, did you like the movie?
And did you like the movie? All right.
Let us know.
Sounds good. Thanks for tuning in. Again, galacticdriftwood.space is our website, and new episodes come out weekly, usually on Wednesdays. And check out our partner podcasts.
What what now, Bill?
Our partner podcast. I'm trying to do like worse. A little Southern accent, so it almost is in. There's some questionable
partner podcast.
Partner podcast. On synergynation.net, synnation.net. So on that note, we will see you next week. Have a great new year. Take care. Bye-bye.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Galactic Driftwood Podcast. For more information and past episodes, please visit our website at galacticdriftwood.space or subscribe to us on YouTube. And now, please deactivate your cranial downlinks, collect your towels, and be sure to watch your step as you exit our gravity well.